Greetings, everyone. On behalf of the Honor Guard leadership team, I'd like to welcome you to the very first edition of what we are calling Honor Guard Training Minutes. I am firefighter paramedic Paul Texador, the MFD Local 311 Honor Guard Training Captain. Now, this is going to be a series of short videos discussing the basics of Honor Guard, from uniforms to facing movements to drill and ceremonies and all other things Honor Guard related. These videos are going to be roughly 15 minutes in length or less so that we can offer you quick tips without boring you too much. Currently I'm recording from my home office here in Verona, but you'll be seeing these videos in various locations throughout the series. Right now, we're going to begin this first episode on uniform wear and care. All right, welcome to episode 1. Today we're going to be talking about uniforms. We're going to take kind of a bottoms-up approach, starting with our shoes and our socks. We're going to go to our pants and belt after that. Then we're going to talk about our shirt, over to the dress coat. We're going to talk about the cover at the very end, and then to sum things up, we'll talk about how to care and carry your uniform from place to place. Throughout the whole presentation here today, you're going to hear me talk about stuff that you can get on the GALS website, which is your normal uniform clothing order system. I may mention a few things that you can get online at Amazon or whatever retailer you wish. But most of your stuff you should be able to get either at GALS or through your equipment manager, who is Captain Chris Hahn, if you need to get a hold of him. All right? So let's get started. First off, we're going to talk about shoes and socks. Socks are real basic. Only approved sock for Honor Guard use is going to be a nice black sock. We don't want any insignias, no emblems on them, no Nikes, no Under Armours, anything like that. It should be a nice black dress sock. Nothing fancy, but do make sure it's black. As far as our shoes are concerned, everybody should have a nice patent leather, what we call core fram shoe. This you can get on the GALS website. It is nothing that you need to polish per se, but you do need to keep it serviceable. If you get some spots, rainwater, whatever, mud, go ahead and clean it off as needed. Every once in a while, like a little Windex and a soft cloth will get most of that stuff off. Another thing you can do to make it look nice and sharp, you can get this stuff called edge dressing. That just puts a nice black shiny paint on the edge of your shoe. Just one extra touch. Not totally required, but if you do want it to look extra sharp, that is an option. Now, a pro tip for you, when you're carrying these around, I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but for your shoes, especially with these core frames, they do get scratched up quite a bit. So what I like to do before I put it into my garment bag, I'll throw a nice soft sock over it. That way when I'm tossing them in and out of the bag, they're not going to get scratched. Okay? Simple little tip, not necessary, but I find that it's helpful. So next thing we're going to talk about is our pants and our belt. Switch this out here. Obviously the pants that you get for Honor Guard use that you get issued to you do have that nice stripe down the seam of the trouser. Make sure that that's serviceable, that it's not coming off. Pretty simple. Make sure your pants fit. They should have just a small little bend at the bottom. If they're too long or too short, go ahead and get them hemmed up and send us the bill. Okay. As far as the belt is concerned, you should get a issued belt off of that GALS website. Make sure the belt fits. Make sure it's not too long, and do make sure that the belt buckle is nice and shined up, that it's not rusty, that it's serviceable, that it looks sharp. Okay. Next, we do have our shirt. First things first with the shirt, you can have it laundered and pressed at a facility of your choice. That's completely up to you, or if you do have access to an iron and some starch, by all means go ahead and starch it up. Get a nice crease. Make sure you don't have 2 creases. We call that the railroad. If you guys need help, I can go ahead and give you some tips as far as ironing your shirt. Otherwise, just have it pressed somewhere so that it looks nice and sharp. Make sure you got the appropriate patches. When you are wearing your shirt, I know it's underneath our coats, so a lot of people tend not to wear their name tag and their badge. I'd prefer that if we did wear both the name tag and the badge in a tie, at all times, just in case we aren't wearing our full coat while we're setting things up, doing things. It just looks a lot sharper. A plain blue shirt with our uniform just doesn't look professional to me. So let's go ahead and get everything squared away on that shirt with your name tag and your badge and your tie. So I'll talk about that name tag here real quick. Name tag, go ahead and get yourself a small little ruler, little tape, and make sure that it's centered on that right pocket and that it's a 1/4 inch up. Okay. As far as the badge is concerned, there are badge holes over there. Self-explanatory as where that goes. Just make sure it's polished, not too scratched. Same with your name tag. If it's scratched, go ahead and have it replaced. Go on the Gall's website and get yourself a regular name tag. Now this name tag is the one that's got your name and your rank on it, and that's going to be your silver, your gold, whatever your rank is. Same with your one here. The only difference will be once we move to the coat. I'll show you what that one looks like. As far as the only other thing on our shirt here is something that I've used quite a while, and something that maybe not a lot of people know about, but these are called shirt stays or shirt garters. What they do is they keep your shirt nice and tucked in. So they'll attach to the bottom of your shirt, and then they'll attach to the top of your sock. They're nice and elastic. You can adjust the tension on them, and they'll pull that shirt nice and tight to where it looks professional and like you've got a nice sharp look once you've got it tucked in. A lot of times you'll see people with that puffy, untucked look. We want to make sure it's nice and sharp. So that's an option for you, and you can get those online from many retailers. If you need help finding them, go ahead and ask me, and I'll hook you up. Okay. As far as our tie is concerned, there are 2 options. We do want a black tie, no blue ties, anything like that. Should be straight off your Gall's website clothing order. 2 options are a clip-on or a tie. Get a clip-on, that's completely your choice. Go ahead and go with that. Otherwise, if you do get the tie, make sure you know how to tie it properly. If you need help with that, I'd be happy to help you. The other thing that is approved for tie tack use is the 5, 10, 15, 20-year pin. You can go ahead and use that as a tie tack on your tack or on your tie. Okay? Kind of looks sharp, so by all means, go ahead. All right, moving on to the dress coat. First things first, obviously make sure it's not wrinkly. This is one of the things we want to watch. If it does get wrinkled, get yourself a steam iron or some sort of a steaming thing. Get those wrinkles out, okay? Make sure you've got the appropriate patches. This should all come from your Honor Guard Captain Chris Hahn the way that it's supposed to, but if it doesn't, go ahead and let him know. Should have the correct braids on the bottom. Make sure your buttons are not falling off. Make sure that they're serviceable, that they're not loose, and that they're polished up and looking good. Okay. Like I was saying before, the name tag on the coat is going to look a little bit different than the name tag on your shirt, especially if you are a firefighter with a silver. You're going to see that this Honor Guard one, every single person, no matter the rank, is going to have that gold Honor Guard badge. Okay, so this one's got your name, and then it says Honor Guard underneath. It's not going to have any rank whatsoever. Make sure that that, again, is a 1/4 inch off of the pocket and that it's centered on that right side. Moving over to the badge, you'll see the badge that I've got currently is the Honor Guard badge. A nice colorful badge. We're very proud of our badge. Looks sharp. One of the things to consider, just put it through the holes here and make sure it's nice and centered. And then we do have our morning badges, and I'll show you with it on what it looks like. You should all have access to these. It's the black and red morning badge. If you don't have the black and red, go ahead and get with our equipment manager. He'll set you up. Pro tip for this morning badge, every time you use it, if you need to take it off for an event that we're not doing services for, go ahead and take it off, undo it from the back, and pop it in that front pocket. That way you'll always have it for every event. Okay, if you put it anywhere else, you might lose it. So just keep it in that front right pocket, or left pocket, sorry. Okay. Put this back on so I don't forget it. Next thing we have the aiguillette. The aiguillette is something that we've had people confused about in the past, so a key point that I wanted to bring up here is just making sure that we've got it exactly how we want it. So I'll bring this a little bit closer so you can see, but the aiguillette or aiguillette is made up of three main areas of chords. You've got the interior chord with a knot and this finial. You've got this braided cord that goes underneath the arm and through the back. And then you've got these two non-braided cords that hang over the shoulder on the outside, over the patch. One thing to figure out is how you've got to put it up on your epaulet here. So this does have a loose piece, comes apart in two pieces. You've got this triple loop up here, looks like a shamrock almost, and it's got a little loose piece on the end. That's going to go right through the braided loop at the top, and then you're going to hook that right over the button on the epaulet. Make sure that those epaulets are tucked under that collar at the same time. Another thing you can do is you can adjust the length of these on the outside. I would make sure that they're roughly the same length. They're kind of seated inside each other, and so that looks nice and sharp. Okay. If you do need to pin it, sometimes this finial on the inside gets a little mind of its own. So what I like to do is go from the inside, grab it and pin it. That way it's not going to be moving around, clanking into your badge too much. Okay. Just make sure that that pin isn't visible once you're doing services. One more thing to note on the coat, you'll see we do have our gloves here, and I'll bring these forward. A couple different variations of the glove you'll see out there. Mine are older kind. It's got some ribbing on it and a little bit of tackiness on the inside. One thing that I just wanted to mention, make sure that they're nice and white. If they need to be bleached or cleaned, go ahead and do that. If you need a new pair, just get a new pair, okay? One of the things that we like to do when we're on the scene of a service is because of the kind of the rattiness of the ends of the glove here, we like to tuck those in. And if you'd like to iron them in this position, by all means do so. That's completely appropriate. That may just help you remember to do it. But if everybody does this and does it the right way, that looks nice and sharp, a nice straight line instead of it kind of getting all out of hand. Okay. Something to consider when you're doing your services in the future. All right, so we are done with the dress coat. We're going to be moving on to the cover. Everybody should have the Honor Guard issued cover. A couple things to consider here. Make sure you do have the gold Honor Guard badge, not the silver department issued badge. Okay. Another thing to consider when you are looking and kind of carrying around your cover, don't grab it by the brim. You've got a lot of oil on your hands. You're just going to put fingerprints on there, and it's just going to be hard to get those off. If it does get to a point where it needs to be cleaned, a little Windex, a little water, soft cloth, make sure that that part is clean, that the band around it is clean, and just polish up the gold as needed. Another pro tip, put your name inside. That way when we're at events, we're not confusing each other's covers, and we get everybody back to what they need. One of the things that you may see me use, you definitely don't need it. You can get these online. This is a hat stretcher. My hat tends to shrink from time to time. I bought it maybe a little too small. I usually put that right in, tighten it up. It also keeps the shape of the hat so that it's nice and ready for use. It keeps it from getting crushed. Okay? If you'd like to get one of those, go ahead and look online for that. All right, so we've done shoes and socks. We've done pants and belt. We did the shirt and tie, our dress code, and our cover. The last thing I want to talk about is how we care for our uniform and how we carry it around, just so that everybody can get some tips on that for best practices. So one of the things I do for my cover is I get myself a hat box. If you have access to one of these, it doesn't need to be anything fancy, just something to keep your hat from getting crushed, from getting sat on, Just keep it clean and ready to go for your next service. You can get these online. I got this from when I was doing stuff in the military, but go ahead and get yourself something to protect that cover so that you can keep it nice and ready for use. As far as your uniform, get yourself a nice uniform bag. You can see mine here. I've had this one for quite a while. It's got a bunch of different pockets. Yours doesn't have to be fancy. It can just be a regular cheap one from wherever. But make sure you've got a dedicated one for your Honor Guard uniform so that it is always ready to use, so that it's kept out of the dust and nice and straight. Okay. Other things that you need to consider, obviously we want our uniforms to be pressed, ironed, whatever you're doing with your shirts. We want to make sure that there's no wrinkles in our things. And shine up the appropriate items that need to be shined up. Other than that, make sure your white gloves are white. If they are not, go ahead and get yourself a new pair or bleach them. See if that works for you. I think that wraps up pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss today. Hopefully that was a good review for you. Hopefully a good way to kind of standardize everybody as far as uniform wear and care. If you've got any questions or concerns, please contact me, firefighter paramedic Paul Texador. I'm your training captain. Or contact Joe Ellingson, Jen Rahman, or Chris Hahn. We are the four on the leadership team. We'd be happy to help you with any of your Honor Guard questions. And with that, I will say goodbye, and we'll see you at the next episode.